So here's an overview of SEO. What is SEO? SEO or search engine optimization is the process of optimizing our web pages for search engines. What does this really mean? It confuses people often. So in simple words, we make sure our pages, our web pages in our website is optimized for a bunch of factors which will help us rank higher in Google. So the essential goal of an SEO is to get as much organic traffic as possible. Traffic from Google or visits from Google. And in order to get a lot of traffic, we need to rank higher in Google. And how do we rank higher in Google? That is what SEOs do. Domain authority is a metric that is created by a company called as Moz, which is a third-party company and is not really related to Google or any other search engines. And this metric is a measure of the ability of the website to rank well in Google or any other search engines. And since it's a third-party metric, you shouldn't take this too seriously. Anyways, this metric is considered as SEO strength of the website. Domain authority goes from 1 to 100. And new websites with no history will have a domain authority of 1 when it's just starting out. This metric is generally accepted in the SEO community as the SEO strength of any website. The more relevant and valuable content we write, this authority will slowly increase, and that's kind of our goal as well. Here's a note, an increased domain authority does not always mean that we are getting more traffic. So the goal of an SEO to improve the organic traffic that we receive from Google, and domain authority is just a metric that shows the SEO strength of the website. So it's an indirect correlation and it's not a direct one. The next metric that we'll be discussing is page authority. Page authority is very similar to domain authority, but page authority measures the ability of the web page to rank or the SEO strength of the web page individually. Here's a note, do not take these metrics blindly, like as we discussed that these are third-party metrics, and do not expect to outrank web pages which have less authority than us, because the thing that ultimately matters is the value of your content and the relevance, how relevant your content is to the search engine. And like I told you, and this is being proven again and again, content is more important than anything else in SEO. CTR is called as click-through rates. This metric measures how many people actually click through to our website out of all the impressions that our website receives from Google. So it is basically clicks by impressions. Now let's quickly go through classification of search factors. Search engine optimization can be classified into these three broad categories. On-site SEO, like the name suggests, on-site SEO covers all the factors that needs to be optimized on the page, like keywords, internal links, adding meta information and so on. Our focus will be fixed on this in this chapter, since this is what's most relevant for content writers. The next classification is off-site SEO. Off-site SEO covers search factors that we need to optimize for outside our own website. When we talk about off-site SEO, we mostly only mean link building. This part of SEO isn't very relevant to content writers. Link building is the second most important thing next to content, but again it's not relevant, so we'll not be going through all of these. The next classification is also not very relevant to SEO content writers, is called as technical SEO. Technical SEO is a part of SEO which covers the points of contact and the relationship we have with the Google crawler. In this chapter, we'll learn everything a content writer needs to know about SEO while crafting an article. So basically, we'll be talking about the important on-site SEO factors that content writers needs to know. Why all these factors? Let's learn about the basics of how search engines work, so we'll understand why all these factors comes into place. So search engines have web crawlers, which is just a piece of code that would scan the World Wide Web or the internet. So the crawler crawls the internet when someone types something in the search box and comes back with relevant web pages that could answer or help the searchers and satisfy their search intent. So you might be wondering, how do web crawlers actually come up with the most relevant results? How do they understand each and every single web page, and how do they rate and rank them with similar topics? There could be millions of web pages for a single search query, and how does it rate and rank them, and how does it come up with the top 10 results out of these millions of pages? Let's discuss this right now. Search engines use all the factors, the on-site, off-site and technical, to rate and rank websites and specifically web pages, and SEOs understand and use these factors to craft SEO friendly web pages and help companies and their websites to get attention of all of these searches, which would be beneficial for their business goals. So let's jump into chapter 1. So what are all the on-site SEO factors or the search factors that we need to know while crafting the article? Factor number 1, keyword density, and its priority is very low. So search engines used to use keywords and key phrases in web pages to understand and rank web pages. So back in the days, if we just keep spamming the keyword weight loss all over our article or the web page, then we used to rank high in the SERPs or the search engine's result page for the search terms related to weight loss. So keywords and keyword density it was a thing of the past, used to be an important SEO factor. This is mainly because search engines weren't smart back then. Keyword density is definitely not a factor anymore, but there are still a lot of SEOs who still insist on maintaining a minimum keyword density. Of course, it is a good practice to include the target keywords and the root keywords in the copy of your content. But how important it is, you need to understand. Back in the days, Google used to use keywords as a ranking factor, but now it's barely even a factor anymore. Adding this just for the sake of increasing the keyword density doesn't really sound good when the users read your article. So think about the users in mind while you're crafting the content, and keyword density is not really an important factor. Let's quickly go through a couple of important terms here. So number 1, target keyword or seed keywords. It is the important keyword we are trying to rank for. This is the main intent behind the article, or it is the topic of the article. And the second term is related keywords or root keywords. These are all the keywords that's closely related to the target keyword. What does this mean? These are usually the subsections of the article. You will get more clarity on this in the next chapter. In the next chapter, you'll learn a lot about keyword research and how to use this research while you are researching your content, writing your content and publishing your content. Keyword research is not a linear process because there will be a lot of situations where you need to do keyword research, and you'll be learning about all of these in the next chapter. So if you have any doubts at all or any confusions about keywords at this point, just stick until the end of this chapter, because I'll be giving a demonstration about all of these, and the next chapter you'll have complete understanding of what keywords are and how to use these and how important these will be in each and every step of the journey. Next, we have to consider the page structure. What does a page structure mean? Basically means we need to break up your article into subsections for better readability and scannability. With the reduced attention span of today's audiences, it's extremely important to structure the article properly with different header tags such as H1, H2, H3 and H4. Search engines used to use header tags in the past to understand the web page because it wasn't very smart back then. But even recently this year, John Mueller from Google has clarified that header tags are just considered as a part of the content and it's not really an important part of content. So while you are crafting your header tags, make sure you craft it for the users. It's okay to include the root keywords, but don't try to be spammy because it's not worth it at all, because it definitely will not help you rank better. Now we'll discuss an important factor called as EAT optimization, and it has a really high priority. So let's look into what it means. So EAT stands for expertise, authoritativeness and trust. Search engines have always wanted to do only one thing, and that is to serve the most valuable content to the searchers and satisfy the search intent. And what do you think is the best way for them to do it? Of course, there are a lot of algorithms to understand the value of the web pages, and that's why Google has been doing it. But now using this fact, what Google is going to do is it's going to deliver web pages written by experts and from authoritative and trustworthy websites. Remember the word trustworthy. So this factor mainly affects sensitive topics like news and current events, government laws, finance, shopping, health and safety, and community issues like racism, religion, and so on. So, if you're going to be writing about these kind of topics, then you need to take this more seriously. So, you might be wondering, as a writer, what can I do to optimize for this factor? Because we might not be experts in the company that we are being hired on. So, what can we do to optimize for this fact? So use statistics and link to original sources whenever possible. Using data and statistics will look more appropriate here, and linking to original sources makes them trust us more. And there are some content differentiation factors. So if you are an expert in a subject, the content you write would vary from most of the stuff available out there. Experts have unique perspective to things, and their content as an it factor that influences the readers to take action. Makes sense, right? So focus on different insights and perspectives and make the article interesting. And if you are like an outsourced writer writing for a company and for a niche that you're not really aware of and you're not really comfortable writing for that, I really recommend that you consult some sort of an expert, or you could talk with someone in the company itself who's an expert in this matter to get their unique perspective on things before you start writing the article. This could make sense, and this is especially important when you're writing in these sensitive topics. And finally, have an author section with links back to the author's portfolio and social profiles. So this is just Google's way of identifying the author and understanding their credentials to write such topics. The next factor that we are going to discuss here is keywords in title and header tags. The priority is high. It is recommended that we add the target keyword and the appropriate root keywords in the respective headings and subheadings. You will understand more about this in the next chapter. Again, this takes us back to how Google used to use keywords in the past to understand and rank the pages. So the thing to do here is, I would still recommend that you use the target keyword in the header tags or the title tag. Why do I say this? Because in the next chapter we'll be learning about how to choose target keywords, and we will be choosing target keywords which will represent the search intent. This will give the perspective for the entire page, and keywords in header tags might actually still carry some SEO value in it. There are still many title tag optimization techniques out there, and I've linked it down there in the notes, so it will be easier for you to go through them, because going through that in the video will not be very helpful, because when the time and situation comes, you could refer those notes for you to be able to get there, because dumping you too many techniques and information is not going to help either you or me. So hope that works. So the next factor is internal linking, and the priority is very high. So search engines used links from other websites as a ranking signal. The more links we get from external websites, the more authority we get, which would result in better rankings. So how does this really happen? So when a website links to another website, some amount of link equity or value is passed, and they call this the link juice. The same concept applies to internal links too. So what are internal links? So we discuss external links. External links are links from other websites. So this concept applies to internal links too. Internal links are links from one web page to another in the same website. These pass link juice too. So when you are publishing a web page, make sure you add some internal links in it. So first understand all the relevant products and all the relevant blogs, articles, resources, or whatever products that you have in your website relevant to the blog that you're writing, and include them in the copy of the article. Just make sure that you add with the flow and don't make it very spammy, and don't just add it towards the end of the article. Make sure you add it in between as well. So let's look at the guidelines for internal linking. So this point is something you need to follow after you publish the web page. Whenever you publish a new page or an article, make sure it is added to the appropriate category and link to this new page from a bunch of relevant pages in our website. So once you publish a new page, go to all the relevant pages in the website and link from these relevant pages to the new page. This will give the initial authority and the link juice that is required to start ranking. There is a limit of 150 links per page over which Google will stop crawling the other links present. Exceptions will be made for important pages where more links will be crawled. And my advice is to not keep these in mind, just add links to relevant pages that will be useful to the users. So you need to think about these from the user's perspective as well. Don't induce these links into the body of the content randomly. You could use call to action such as related blog section in between when there is a flow in the content. Of course, adding some call to action in between is quite normal these days, and this doesn't disturb the user's attention much. So you could use call to action such as related blogs, explore this service or product, or call us back. These needs to be placed in the most appropriate place, so it will also flow along with the content, and the call to action, the chances of them taking the action will also increase. So keep the user experience in mind while doing the linking. Use keywords as anchor text rather than using texts like click here and read more, and try to avoid similar anchor text for different pages which are closely related, because that confuses Google. Which means, let's say you're writing an article about weight loss and there is another article about weight loss using intermittent fasting. So these two pages are quite similar, but this is more specific, the one about intermittent fasting. So when you are linking to these pages from other relevant pages in the website, you need to make sure you don't give the same anchor text for both these internal links, because Google might get confused because of this, and it's not really a good habit. Placing internal links high up in the page can potentially help with user engagement, because even if the content that they are looking for is not there in the web page that they are viewing, this internal link to potentially point them to the page that could answer their question. So the session duration and the pages per session and all of these engagement metrics will improve. So coming to external links are links to external pages, external websites from the blog that you're publishing. So why do we have to do this? A lot of SEOs believe that this helps Google understand the page better, and also you'll be linking out to relevant resources that will be useful for the users. Just make sure that you don't link out to our competitors, because it'll be foolish. Like, we've spent so much time writing that content and then making sure it ranks and getting the organic traffic just to direct them, move them to our competitors' website. It doesn't make sense. So be careful while you're adding the external links, but make sure you add some valuable external links which will actually be useful to our users. So what are the guidelines for external links? Adding a few external links to our page is generally recommended. When I started doing SEO, they said external links are used by search engines to better understand the web page. Make sure the domain you are linking to is trustworthy. Do not link out to pages that are very spammy. Make sure that the pages you are linking to are very closely relevant to the topic of our web page. And again, limit the number of external links and use no follow links if you are linking to a lot of pages. No follow is basically we won't be sending link juice from our page, so our page won't lose authority if we link to a lot of external websites. So I understand some content will definitely require a lot of external links so that it will be useful for the users to go to those web pages and refer. This adds to the value of the web page that we have. But we need to keep in mind that giving away too many external links means that page that we are using, that we are publishing, will lose authority. So make sure you add no follow tags, which makes sure that link juices are not passed unnecessarily. And the general rule is, when you are linking to other web pages, make sure they are trustworthy and they are very closely relevant to our web page. The next factor we'll discuss is adding images to our article or our web page. Adding images to the article is very important as it makes Google believe our content is resourceful, engaging, and interactive, and it actually helps our website visitors to scan and absorb our content better. Web pages with images have better user engagement and dwell time, or the time that they stay on the site. So, what is an image alt tag? So, every image that we upload to our website will have an attribute called as alt tag. It's very easy for you to update this alt tag. So, what it essentially does is it helps Google understand what the image is about, because Google has crawlers and it's very intelligent, but it's very hard for it to understand visual resources that we add to our website. So image alt tags are essentially information to Google about the image in our website, which will be resourceful to our users, which will help our page rank higher up as well. So let's look into the guidance for image alt tags. Image alt tags should be descriptive and they should have the target keyword in it, and it should explain what the image is about. Here's a common template which I use for image alt tags. So first add the target keyword with a colon and then the explanation. So this image, for example, let's say we have an image with all the on-site factors featured. So the target keyword would be SEO content writing guide, what the page is about, and then the explanation would be on-site factors listed. So that would do. So the next factor we are going to discuss is keywords in meta description, and this is a factor which comes before we publish the page, just before we publish the page. So meta description is just a small description that we find under the page title in the SERPs, which explains a bit about the page, so the users would be able to understand what the page is about, so that they can decide whether they could click through to it or not. Every one of us would have seen meta description while we are searching for something in Google search, and usually SEOs would publish the page and the writers wouldn't have to worry about all these things. But I know there are companies which expect the writers to publish the content, and your knowledge about these factors can be really valuable. Here's what we need to do. Include the target keyword in the copy of the meta description. Meta descriptions have a character limit of 150, so keep it short and precise. Have a call to action in the meta description. Start with a relatable line. Use their pain points here, or so they could relate with the emotions. For example, sick of being overweight. Do you wish to become leaner? Here's an in-depth guide on how to lose weight fast. Read more. So if you notice, we have started with a pain point which would be more relatable, and we have described what the page is about, and then we have ended it with a call to action, and that this is how meta description should be. The next factor that we'll be discussing is schema markups. Schema markups are just pieces of codes that we add to the end of the article, so it will help the Google understand the page better, and adding these pieces of code is very easy because there are a lot of third-party tools which can do this for us. We just have to input information about our web page and they will generate the schema markups for us, and there are a lot of schema markups out there. So also adding schema markups helps us get featured snippets. So featured snippets are essentially the big pieces of text that you see in the SERPs. You'll see what that is in the demonstration down below. The next factor that we'll be discussing is URL optimization. So the URL of any web page barely has any effect on its organic ranking or SEO value, but still a lot of SEOs recommend that we have an easy to understand URL, so it will be useful for the users to click through to our website. So when someone is scanning the SERPs, the search engine's results page, it will be useful for them to understand what the page is about. If the title of the page is How to Lose Weight Fast, Weight Loss Guide 2022 Guide, so the URL could be domain.com/health/weight loss. If you understand the website architecture and its niches better, then try and reflect it in the URL. Honestly, these are not really a content writer's work, but just in case some companies with zero SEO knowledge would hire SEO content writers are just content writers to publish articles hoping that this would improve their organic ratings. So it's better to know the good practices so you will be a better asset to the company. Let's say you work for a digital marketing company which publishes articles around these topics: SEO, PPC, social media marketing, content marketing. So then make sure the URLs are like this. Think about it this way: a group of pages are supporting the main pillar blog. So if there is no SEO in the company you are working for, use this tip to get better SEO scores and good organic results, and also impress the people that you're working for. So this is it with this chapter. So let's just look into the other factors that we didn't learn about, which is irrelevant to the content writers. If you are interested in learning SEO, you could go ahead and explore these factors. So on-site factors, we left out website architecture and trust, and we have pretty much covered everything else. But then there are a lot of user experience metrics that an SEO needs to take care of, such as page load speed, making sure it's mobile friendly, making sure it has mobile first indexing, having dwell time optimization, and then we also have to do a bit of image optimization for it to load faster. So with this, we can conclude the on-site search factors, the factors that we need to focus on while writing and publishing the article. So like we discussed earlier, the next chapters would be SEO keyword research and then SEO content writing. Then eventually we'll go to the career chapter. Here's a final tip. I could even say this is a pro tip that a lot of SEOs don't really understand. So when you when you work for a lot of companies, there will be situations where you will be wondering why this page doesn't rank, even though we have crafted the most valuable content out there. So you need to understand that a web page should have a proper authority in a particular niche. So if I have a website about digital marketing and I suddenly craft and write amazing blog, let's say this is the best blog ever about fitness, something about weight loss or something, okay, just imagine that. But that page will not rank because my website is known for its digital marketing expertise and not about fitness. So you need to add a lot of supporting articles around an important pillar page for it to get more relevance and authority in that particular niche for it to start ranking well. So sometimes, even though if you have the best article out there and you still don't rank, just make sure you write a lot of relevant articles around that main pillar blog so that you will rank well in that particular niche.